bombs and bullets on other innocent brown people who's never bothered us.
And since his comeback, he'd been brutally beaten by Joe Frazier and had his jaw broken by Ken Norton a year before. Overweight and out of condition, but Ali could still talk a great fight.
Get them all out of your theaters and you write everything you write, but I'm gonna make you eat everything you say against me, all of my critics. I'm gonna prove to the world that I'm still the fastest, the prettiest, the most classist, the most scientific, the greatest fighter of all time.
That's right.
Let's fight, right?
I'll be able to go out there when the bell rings, measure him up, set him up, and hopefully knock him out.
25-year-old George Foreman was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Undefeated in 40 straight fights, Foreman had destroyed Joe Frazier inside 2 rounds to win the title and had demolished Ken Norton in equally devastating fashion. With just one of his punches to the solar plexus sufficient to break the spine of an ordinary mortal, Foreman was at the peak of his awesome power.
To be honest with you, I'll fight 20 Muhammad Ali's at any given day for $5 million.
Well, he says now he can stick and run and beat you.
Well, he'll definitely have to do it to beat me, stick and run. I'm gonna be running him through the jungle.
Zaire, in the heart of Africa, was an extraordinary choice for the fight. Formerly the Belgian Congo and centre of the continent's slave trade, the country was now an equally desperate black one-party dictatorship. President Mobutu had lured the most famous fighters in
I think we were all startled, like Zaire. I mean, that did seem to be a bit way out, a bit bizarre. And it turned out to be that, exactly that.
The deal had been brokered by an unknown black hustler called Don King.
When you go see me those pictures? I did. You did? In my office?
Ali wanted to achieve something, and I gave him the opportunity. He was the biggest guy in the world, but he couldn't get George Foreman. I got George Foreman. Dick Sattler was the manager of George Foreman. He didn't really want to deal with me, and so I dealt without Dick Sattler, because even at the time that George was getting ready to sign those blank sheets of paper, Dick Sattler was still saying, well, champ, now just wait a minute, champ. You know, don't, champ, you know, we got to see what we're going to do, you know, and George just almost like God was in his plan, and he was just signing blank pieces of paper. Unheard of.
A remarkable feat for a man who'd never promoted a fighter before and had been in jail, convicted of manslaughter only a year earlier.
Zaire was a truly black experience because there was 2 black champions with a black promoter. The black promoter had never promoted a fight in his life. He was going to a country that never had a fight before, didn't know what a satellite was, didn't know anything about transmitting a fight. We had a stadium, didn't have seats, had just concrete things in it, and we ordered tickets for it without having seats. That's insanity.
From the moment he stepped foot on African soil, Ali was hailed as the true champion.
A fight coming up with George Foreman, I will feel as though he is the stranger coming to our home to fight me in our country.
You know, he used to say that he was more famous than presidents, and he was more famous than the Queen. And I think that was true at that time. I mean, he used to say, I'm more famous than Jesus. When Jesus was alive, there were no satellites.
If you took him up in an aeroplane and dropped him out of the plane on a parachute, anywhere in the world, it wouldn't matter where he came down, whoever was the first person to come and meet him on the ground would instantly recognize him and would instantly smile, because everybody enjoyed him. Everybody in the world. I mean, he was, for a time, unquestionably the most famous man in the world, bar none.
If you had told me I'd be offered a professorship to teach philosophy and poetry at Oxford and speaking at Harvard, man, I never would have believed this. And I'm just a boxer when most boxers can't even talk.
Ali had become an international icon.
You couldn't invite Joe Frazier, George Foreman.
Yet in America, his conversion to Islam and growing involvement with the Black Power movement and Malcolm X had divided his followers. Zaire felt like the homecoming.
Ali was in the midst of the civil rights struggle. He was in the midst of the struggle for Vietnam, against Vietnam, and he, it became very important. Politically, it was a black awakening. This fight transcended any title fight I've ever been in, ever. There's just never been one with the importance that this fight had.
Foreman's dawn arrival in Africa was greeted with polite respect.
I think that Muhammad, like Joe Frazier and all these guys at this stage, can only do what I let them do. And I'm not intending to let them.
Primitive conditions in the countryside, soon switching to a high-rise apartment in the center of Kinshasa. It came with its own siege mentality.
Foreman, on the other hand, was up in his penthouse, being burly, and had two huge police dogs of the kind that the Belgians used to suppress the blacks. You know, like the SS was up there with black uniforms. I mean, he really needed to be around with two huge police dogs.
At the invitation of the president, Ali and his entourage took up residence in the official palace at Nsele. The palace, complete with luxury liner, stood on the banks of the Congo, now Zaire River.
But across the river was a jungle, and that was no backdrop. You know, that wasn't a movie studio. That was the jungle, with lions in it, and there were huge alligators that would come cruising down the river. And he would say, I really am in Africa. You know, I think this is Africa back.
I can remember standing in the main street of Kinshasa one day, and I saw an unattended car catch fire all by itself, spontaneous combustion. I still don't know what happened.
And then, with less than a week to go, Foreman sustained a serious cut. Even Ali was taken aback.
He went out holding it with a towel. This let me know that it must have been something with a little depth to it, maybe wide or deep in some way. Even one stitch would be enough to stop it fall with something being so close. And I feel as though somebody close to me just died. It's a bad thing. Everybody's on the way here in planes right now from all over the world. Arena's been rebuilt for it. And I've trained so hard, and he's trained so hard, and the whole world theaters are sold out. And it's a $10 million cut is what it was, or more. $50 million cut.
President Mobutu demanded military precision, and difficulties with stadium preparations had already led to a spate of executions. With the possibility of the fight being cancelled, many thought Don King's neck was literally on the line.
It's a mark of as we came to know his resourcefulness, his inventiveness, his abilities. Don King was on the verge of being shot in Zaire.
Well, it was extremely difficult, but I was so up on being there that it didn't, the difficulties, didn't mean too much. You have to overcome them. And in so doing, we worked very hard because after all, these people were not used to high technology in putting some of these things together. And so you had to bear with them, and that's why Mobutu was using it as sort of like a symbol, so to speak, to demonstrate that they were doing, they could do and would do. And so we had to work with them. It's no different than working in any other foreign country.
All the copy had to go through a censor. Mobutu had to be accorded his full title, and it went on and on and on. Mobutu, President, Lord of the Heavens, Master of the Lions, all that had to go in the copy. Of course it came out.
Don King's biggest problem was how to prevent the champion from leaving Zaire, never to return.
George wanted to go home. So, and he wouldn't talk to nobody. He was just dead set on going home, and if we know if George ever got out of Africa, he wasn't coming back. So the thing was to keep George in Africa without him taking umbrage to it.
I predicted whenever the fight is set, he might not show up.
For Ali, it was time for a show.
I just want all helicopters guarded, private boats, private jets entering this space. I want the airport. I'm serious. I want the president. I want all of you Zaireans to be on guard. Watch all strange boats slipping in. It might take him out. Watch the bus station. Watch everything. Watch the elephant caravans. He might sneak out the elephant. Watch everything. Please, Dick Sadler slick and Archie Moore's quick. Watch everything moving, unidentified objects leaving Zaire. Please watch him closely. The man won't out. The man wants out.
And the delay bought Ali 4 more weeks of hero worship.
Suddenly, quite spontaneously, this crowd, they all began to chant, Ali Boumaier, Ali Boumaier. And I went round to somebody and I said, what are they saying? And they said, they're chanting, Ali, kill him. And I told Ali this, and he, after that, he used to conduct the crowd, Ali Boumaier, come, and he used to orchestrate the thing.
Ali Boumaier, Ali Boumaier.
I saw this guy become truly one with the African people and revel in being there, absolutely motivated beyond anything, beyond winning a title fight, beyond winning a title or just beating Joe. He became motivated really to become the #1 black in the world.
I was eating this, what I thought was chicken one night with Ali and Dundee and all of them. And I said, I like the chicken out here. Thank God there's something I can eat. And he said, what chicken? He said, that monkey and chips you got there.
Foreman was undoubtedly deflated.
Should be reported about it that I'm ready to fight, healthy, and if nothing happens between now and the day of the fight, there will be a fight on the 30th, and I'll be doing my...
And Ali's camp really got to work.
George Foreman would train after us. So we had Howard Bingham, the kid, the photographer with us, and he had these telescopic lenses. So we would spy on George Foreman's training. We were watching. And we set up the spies. So we had a spying session every day practically. We had a lot of fun.
Boudini and a couple of those guys to relay to Foreman's camp that Ali was poisoning his food and his water and so on. And he believed it. I mean, he was like a child. He believed anything they told him. So he had to send to America for food and was sending to America for bottled water. I mean, by the time they had him turn around, he hated Africa. He wanted to get out of there. He wanted to just finish the whole thing. The people hated him. In the meantime, Ali's got this Barnum and Bailey circus going every time he does a thing.
And I think it's befitting that 1974 stage couldn't be set no better that I retire this man just like I did Liston.
Right. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Angelo Dundee.
Is that all the time I get? Okay.
Thank you, Banduga Bula and Dick Sadler.
Wherever he went, thousands of people would show up, and he went everywhere.
And I had lunch one day in the restaurant in the hotel, and I saw the waiter chase a rat across the floor of the restaurant. That's the sort of place it was.
Yet amid all the hype and kidology as the fight approached, the Ali camp knew that the bookies' odds of up to 5-1 against their man were devastating.
They were extremely nervous. And it was such a large entourage. There were so many people living off them that they could sense that, well, in sensing that Ali was in serious trouble, they could see their livelihoods going out the window. Without him, they didn't have a job.
His only hope seemed to depend upon his unique dancing style. If at 32 he could keep on the move, he might just avoid a knockout blow. Ali was ever confident.
His whole plans are changed for this fight, and it destroys a man when you have to change your whole style for one fight. His flat-footed style will not win. I plan round by round. I win my rounds by round. I win the most rounds easy, so he's out to dance until he catch me. And he's found out that after 4 rounds, 3 rounds of dancing, he gets tired. And he's found out I'm dancing for 13, and the odds are, to the smart man, is Muhammad Ali will not be knocked out.
I've heard you say in the past that when the plans for a fight don't go right, you resort to brutality.
That's right.
Do you think this is likely to be a case where you might need some brutality?
Who knows? You really don't know. But I've always got that in store.
And a George who looked capable of not only defeating Ali and knocking him out, but doing him a serious injury. I mean, and that's what a lot of us felt, that we would not only see Ali beaten, we'd not only see the end of his career, that we would see a man in serious peril of his life.
First thing I said was, what's the closest neurological hospital to here? Madrid was the closest, by the way. There were no facilities to take care of him if he got hurt. If he got hurt, he would have died because there was no place to take him.
And on fight night itself, there was one final round of shadow boxing. In a move which was to assume enormous significance after the event, Ali's trainer was accused of loosening the ropes of the ring.
Oh, it's not true. I tried to tighten the ropes. Them ropes were, we had 24-foot ropes for a 20-foot ring. And when we got there, the ropes were, and we tried to tighten them again. Tough night.
Angelo loosened the ropes, but that wasn't unusual. Angelo never let anything go by. He knew every trick, and still does.
More than 70,000 people are sitting here tonight under the stars of this hot and humid African night. The time, 4 a.m. here in Kinshasa, and we wait now for the most extraordinary heavyweight championship of all time.
The atmosphere was one of deep gloom, like we were going to a funeral. I remember looking and stopped and said to them, because they were quiet, you know, they were nervous, and he said, "Hey, come on, you don't think I can win this?"
So the 7-week wait almost over, and we're only seconds away from the man who represents destruction, and you're looking at him, and Foreman is looking at Ali, and the man who represents grace and skill and cunning. What a prospect. After standing on those ropes and taking everything.
Come up the ring stairs, all I mean, it's happening right above us. And we're saying, get off the ropes, get off the ropes. Even Saria was screaming, who can't speak English, was screaming in Spanish, get off the ropes. He just came back and said, shut up, I know what I'm doing.
Stay the heck off the ropes. I know what I'm doing, I know. You know what you're doing, you're going to get killed. Guy's going to push you right out of the ropes, get out of there. So, you know, I tried my best to dissuade him, but he had it in his mind he's going to use that rope-a-dope. Muhammad was slapping him around. Muhammad was keeping him off balance. Muhammad had him going ring around the ropes, keep him turning, moving. That's what Muhammad was doing. And he did everything he was supposed to do. Beautiful.
He took Foreman in a clinch into his own corner, and Archie Moore came up, and Ali, in a very quiet voice, but you could hear it clearly from there, said, "Be quiet, old man. It's all over."
And people now are going mad. Stools are being swung, the police are in, the batons are out.
I proved that Allah is God, Elijah Muhammad is a messenger, and I have faith in them, and regardless of the world and the pressure, I made it an easy night because Allah has power over all things. And if you believe in him, nothing, even George Foreman, will look like a baby. It wasn't a close fight, was it? It wasn't a close fight. No. Everybody stop talking now. Attention. I told you, all of my critics, I told you all that I was the greatest of all times when I beat Sonny Liston. I told you today I'm still the greatest of all times. Never again defeat me. Never again say that I'm going to be defeated. Never again make me the underdog until I'm about 50 years old. Then you might get me. But
when George went over, he kind of looks to the corner, as all fighters do, if they've still got enough left in their head when they go down. And he looked, and they weren't there. But it was all over. They'd gone. It was the end of it. He pulled the ripcord. You floating down, baby, and that was it.
Ali psyched him, outfought him, outmaneuvered him in his mind.
He was the boss. He was the maestro. He was the symphony leader. He was tremendous.
He was a superhuman. And when he came in and said black is best and black is beautiful, you had but to look at him.
I coined the phrase that every knee must bend, every head must bow, every tongue must confess, thou art the greatest of all times, Muhammad Ali.
George Foreman was devastated by the defeat and retired from boxing, only to make a comeback in 1987 at the age of 38. He is still fighting, and last month, at the age of 45, he won the WBA and IBF titles against Michael Moorer.
I thought I'd knock him out in one round. Beat him up the first round, beat him up the second, third, fourth, but he's still there talking to me in the fifth. That's all you got? I said, what in the world have I ran into? I had not conserved 1 ounce of energy. This guy was still confident. He was getting more confident. I had a fight on my hand. The next thing you know, he hit me with a 1-2 combination. I was down on the floor. I got ready to get up. My manager told me to get up. When I jumped up, the fight was over. I had lost my title. Never been so devastated in my life to lose the title and to the most braggadocio in the world, Muhammad Ali. Took me a long time, maybe a year, before I could sleep again.
Muhammad Ali successfully defended his title on a further 10 occasions before losing and then regaining the heavyweight championship for the 3rd time. He finally retired just short of his 40th birthday. His health declined quite rapidly, and he has been suffering from Parkinson's syndrome ever since.
His tragedy was that he loved his life so much that he wanted to prolong it in the spotlight. The tragedy became that a man who could have been a tremendous leader for his people became muted by an illness caused by boxing. And that is, in effect, when Muhammad Ali, that I knew, came to an end. If you look at it, Ali's losing the battle in life, but he's winning. And that's probably why it's not a tragedy.